are once a month around the city. So this month, we're going to be out at Old St. Augustine at the Courtyard Marriott. What else? So yeah, that's a little bit about us. So again, these meetings are important. Anybody who's attended these meetings know that it's a blessing. It will be a blessing. This will not be a waste of your time tonight. The last time we was here, it was just me, Pastor Sharon, Pastor Joyce, and Evangelist Garrett, and we had an awesome time. We might be having some people join us on Zoom. There's nobody on there now, but it might be some people joining us. So now we're going to get started. So me, Pastor Sharon, and Pastor Karen, we plan these meetings together. We plan these meetings quarterly, and we try to come up with topics and discussion that's relevant to women in ministry. All right. So I guess I'm going up first, and then it'll be Pastor Baker, and then it'll be Pastor Williams. I'm going to turn this camera this way because we do these recordings. Pastor Karen, I might need you to come over a little bit closer. Just so. Can you do me a favor? If somebody come on there, can you have them in? It'll say admit if they come on. You just click admit if they come on. I'm not, if they in on by now. Pastor Sharon's gonna keep you on time, right? Oh, sure. You could take one and pass it around. Last year, we met over on beach, and I talked about we kind of had a talk about doing ministry now in the midst of COVID. Doing ministry in the midst of COVID. And so this is kind of like it's like a follow-up of what I've already talked about last year. The notes that I'm handing around is notes from a church conference that I attended last year. Basically, being able to do ministry online. How many of y'all agree that you pretty much need to be online if you're gonna be in ministry? Is that pretty relevant? Yeah. It's like no way you can avoid it, right? You have to be online. But how many guys are like me? You grew up at a time we didn't have online, nothing. We had just a house phone, and we wrote letters. We didn't have all this stuff. And for some of us, we're still trying to catch up. So the notes I gave you guys can read at home. But one thing that was important that I really took away from this conference that I attended was, how do we disciple people abroad? How do we disciple people abroad? It's easy to disciple people in this type of setting, but how do you do it abroad? And that's the challenge of the church, is not only discipling, evangelizing to people abroad. And just a little news flash, even though we're coming out of Corona, things ain't gonna go back to what they used to be. There's so many people that was just used to staying home, watching TV, church on TV. They got comfortable. A lot of them just don't want to come back. Some of them, some of them just prefer to just be at home and watch TV. But people are still searching. People still need, they need to connect. They need to connect. But the challenge is, but how do we reach them? One book that I do highly recommend, this book, From Social Media to Social Ministry. It's by Nona Jones. From Social Media to Social Ministry. I highly recommend getting this book. I highly recommend following this woman. She, at one time, was working with Facebook. Her and her husband are really good with and effective with reaching people online. Also, she's connected with this group called Right Now Media. I'm on their subscription list. Really good tool for ministries, especially when you're being online. Now, I know in here too, this is a very important conversation for pastors, but even the ones who are not pastors, how can you help your pastor in this area? Because once again, a lot of us grew up, and it's like we on social media because we have to, but we don't really like to. I mean, for me, I really don't care for it, but you have to keep up with it. So one thing, the last meeting I have encouraged the pastors to get your young people involved. Most churches have young people. Young people come out the womb with that phone and they know how to work. Them babies 2 years old know how to work that smartphone better than you. They'll know how to work it before they start talking. It's amazing. No, for real. They're like, oh, give me your phone. And they done hook something up. So just imagine what the teenagers can do. And then it's a good opportunity to give them responsibility in the church as far as posting, getting people engaged, following up with people. One thing I do see is a lot of ministries have not adjusted to being online. They like have a camera up there and you're just flowing with your service, but you're not realizing you got people watching you. And are you engaging with the people that's watching you on the camera, on the thing? And a lot of times, if you don't engage with them, they'll go to the next church. So it's always good to even think about, even when you're developing your sermons and your Bible study, to engage the people that's watching you, make them feel like they're a part of the conversation. And that's why we don't have to come up with all these things. We have books and tools to help us with that. And young people, during our Friday night service, I have somebody at home because they haven't been back at church yet. But even when they come back to church, we're going to have a rotation. And it's somebody's job just to interact with the people watching on Facebook Live. So, they'll be tucked away somewhere. So they won't be, thinking they're on the phone, but they're literally having conversation while the conversation's going on here. So that's one way you have to think about, and then following up with them, things like that. So I have 5 questions. How much time? I've talking for like 5. Okay, I've got 10 minutes. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your ministry online? And this would be for the pastors in the house and the ones who are connected. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your ministry as far as reaching people online?
-1.
You said a negative one. Okay, -1.
I say about a 7.
7. Okay.
I would say about a 7, 8, because that's mainly what I do. I don't have a physical place, but we meet online all the time. So that's all I do.
Are you guys growing online?
Yeah.
As far as people coming on?
I've gotten a couple of virtual members, I have.
Okay.
Out of the state, Florida, and relatives. And if I might say, I'm learning to reply to the folks that comment. You go back and look at your notifications and those that comply. Because all of my church practices are online, all of them. Right. And I'm encouraging them to like and share. Right. And so a couple of relatives of my members have stuck, and I recognize their names, and I'm learning to reply. Tell them thank you for joining us. We pray you enjoyed the service and blah blah blah. And I'm having some that have been continual, and I've even extended to them to come to our Bible study via Zoom.
Right. And
so I'm feeling it, but I'm getting the feel of it because that's the order of the day, and I'm kind of getting used to it. I don't have young people. I don't have young people. Right? Yeah. The ones that I did have, they're either working or they're teenagers now, and they're not made. Plus, we're not having church anyhow.
Right.
So, and they're not made to tune in and all of that. And I do have some that are not chiming in.
Right.
I don't know why, but they're not. And I just this week reached out to them, called them or texted them or left a voice message, letting them know I hadn't seen them lately, even on Facebook. And I used to, but I haven't seen them, and I was concerned and just following up. and I'm getting the mindset of ministry in the media, and I'm just learning to, just do that. And my offerings are good. We just did our first fruit. It was due by the last of March, and I talked about it on the video, and I invited other people to join in. And to my surprise, and to God be the glory, I had a really, really good response to that from the members. All of them, those that pay tithe and offering, they did pay their first fruit that I asked them to do, and they paid what I asked, some of them over. And I thank God for that. I was surprised, very surprised. Like out of sight, out of mind. So, but they responded, and I think they're getting used to being on TV, on Facebook, and I'm hoping they want to come back to the building. So comfortable.
Well, here's a challenge that I have for you is getting the ones that are faithful to you, getting them more involved. So now you don't have to handle it all on your own. Start delegating. Okay, while I'm online, I need you to respond to the comments. Okay, this week I need you to follow up, because we still have to decipher online from home.
And I do have some that just has taken it upon themselves who are at home, who does say, and I was surprised when I mentioned that to them and thank them for doing it. They tell the audience, welcome to Living Word Ministry. Thank you for joining our service. One of my members has just taken it upon herself to do that. And two, my to save time and not waste time on the broadcast, we do a pre-service. My leaders, they come to the sanctuary, and before we go online, we start service at 9:30. And so we have offline, we have them, I call them usher in the presence of the Lord. We do our scripture, we do our prayer, and we do a praise and worship for those first 30 minutes. Then we come live on the air at 10. And I acknowledge those that are in the sanctuary, let the people know it's my leaders that are there, not very many, just the leaders, but they set the atmosphere. So they are engaged. And I think I got that from y'all last meeting about engaging people. So
here's a quick tip. I'm gonna get to you next. Real quick tip though. Just remember, we have to always want to be just kind of stretched beyond our comfort zone and stretch beyond what we're doing, because we have our members on, and they're the ones that's going to stay on and watch to the end. But somebody just scrolling, they're not. If your service is going on a couple hours, they're not going to stay on because they don't know you like that. So you have to think about as growth. If I want to grow, here's the thing. Most people, let's say the replay, or even if people share, that doesn't matter, because you can go on your analytics and you can see how long people watch your broadcast. Most people are only going to watch if they're not connected to you for 60 seconds. And if they're not, and so that's what I've started doing in the last couple months is going back and taking clips from the service, 60-second clips, and reposting them. So main points, the highs, because they're just not going to, your people will, but if you want to grow, you have to think about, and that's not just for young people. If you think about it too, if you on Facebook and you scrolling, you're not going to too much be on somebody broadcast too long that you're not connected to, unless maybe it's something you were invited to, a special event, or if you're on a program. So those are things to think about when you're online. And as you grow, you want to even get more strategic. Am I just attracting? Because one of our problems with ministry is we're just attracting kind of like our own, meaning people in our age group. We are not getting millennials. We are not getting, I did have a younger person join the church, but our reach is just not, we're not hitting those young people. We're just not. We're attracting the ones that's our age and older, which is fine, but it's like you have to be intentional to attract the young people to come, especially to come into the church, because if you don't, what'll happen is we'll just keep getting older. Who's going to take over? Pastor Arnett.
I guess we never closed the church down. I never really did much Facebook activity because I guess I'm just old school. I don't like it. Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't mind posting it, but getting on there talking and everything. So I try, to do it. I'm trying to learn. You talked to me about that a little bit, but I guess because we didn't close down in COVID, also stuck on that we were still coming in here. When I guess a lot of pastors were forced to have to learn how to go on Facebook and, I didn't even know how to do Zoom.
Right.
So that's why I said, I'm trying to learn how to.
Right, but even without closing down, again, if ministry church has changed, if COVID came in, it put a shift in the whole church, though. Not
But
just
that's
here.
not my mindset.
Right, but it's kind of like if you're gonna grow, if you want to grow, you have to be online. It is, but Facebook's not the only avenue. You got Zoom, you got YouTube. YouTube goes live, so you can YouTube your service. You can stream it through YouTube. You can stream it through Instagram. A lot of the young people are always doing live videos on Instagram. For the little ones, TikTok. That's a whole nother beast. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now. Just don't even worry about that. But if you have young people in your ministry, I'm talking, you got 10-year-olds and younger, or 13 and younger. Guess what? They're on TikTok. So trying to figure out a way, how can I get them engaged in the ministry to get them to because they'll do it, to get them on TikTok is more being fun. So you got to get out your, so you might have to get up with them and do a little silly dance with them. You might have to do the latest dances with them, whatever they doing, because they do. It's like every week is a new challenge. And I've seen pastors, they'll do it with their members. And guess what? I don't mind doing it. I'll get silly, but to reach the youth, I'll do that. So a few more questions. What's my time?
You have 3 minutes.
Yes. Okay, so let me run through these. I'm gonna put these out there and then we'll have a few minutes. What current methods are you using to disciple people abroad? What current methods? I have somebody that shows up on my broadcast every week from the Congo, every week faithfully from the Congo for our Bible study, faithfully. You know why? Because I'm discipling him. And guess what? Probably over there, he got the thing on, there's other people in the house. Mind you, it's 1, 2 in the morning. It's 1, 2. So after the blog, I'm making sure, like I said, the blog, our Bible study notes up on the website so they can have access to it. He is a full-time evangelist in the Congo. So what he's looking at is the material that we're giving out. They don't have a lot of access to, very poor country. So when they show up, it's literally, they're getting discipled because to have a Bible over there, that's like gold. It's very poor country. So even for him to get on the broadcast, and I've noticed since he's been on, now I got more people coming from Africa. So in the future, I'm gonna have to think about, most of the people over there speak French. So now I'm gonna have to think about, I gotta think about going to my website, putting something in there that can translate my stuff to French or to Spanish, because that's the way we're going. And these are some of the things. It's one thing for people to watch you, but just because they watch you doesn't mean they're getting discipled. To be discipled is, watching is one thing, discipleship, that's a walk. Another, so that's a challenge. Thinking about some ways, and they don't have to be overseas. It could be right here in your community. It could be, cousin Nook down the street that ain't coming to church. Right. But how can I still disciple him where he's at? And guess what? He can't stand 2 hours of church. He can't do that. Too much, because he might be ADD. That's just too much for him. This was going on before COVID. There's people that cannot sit through. We got people that's autistic. Right. How do we reach them? Being in a traditional setting is not for like an autistic person. Because they need to be doing something. Right. So again, I remember one of our Bible studies, we sometimes stopped. We did a scavenger hunt. They had to get up and go get something, touch it, show it to us, explain it to us. So again, just thinking outside the box. Number 3, what platforms are you using for your online ministry? I put them out there: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Zoom. This even Twitter. Twitter has a Periscope. Those are different platforms you can reach people. You can also reach them by blog. You can reach them by mailing them. You can reach it. It's so many different ways. People still jump on. I get on a call like every couple months. I'm a speaker on a phone line, and I'm preaching on the phone. Now, this is to an older generation,
Conference calls.
conference calls, but I'm like preaching, like for, so there's different avenues. Here's another question. What are your ministry discipleship and evangelism goals for 2021 and 2022? Your ministry, you should have some goals. What are your ministry discipleship and evangelism goals? I used to be at a church and they'd be like, we want to get 20 every week to come get a life in Christ. This was a big church. And they was hitting them though, but at least they put it out there. We want to get 20, and they had different strategies to get the people to come to the altar. So what are our goals, whether we're in person or online? And then the last one, how are you using your young people in ministry? This is a great time to use the young people because they are glued to their phone. Can I get a witness? And can I get a teenage witness or a little kid? You can't hardly get the phone from their hand. It's like super glue. So use that. Okay. Since you won't be on the phone all day. And then I'll always, I'll make it a job for them. Hey, you want to do this? All right, I need you to do this, 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 and this. And at the end of the week, if you do a good job, I'll give you $25. They'll do it.
That's right.
So it's a way to teach them how a skill, a job, to be professional and to get involved in ministry and help grow your ministry. So that's my spiel. I'm done. That's my spiel.
My spiel is on dealing with domestic violence. I've been hearing a lot about how